What's up, Brandon? And what is up, coworkers? Marcy in the building. What is up, colleagues? What a happy yes, please smash that like button if you get a chance, especially. I don't know if you can double smash it. I think that actually takes the like away. So don't do that. Hello, happy St. Patrick's, Julia. But you should double smash it because Michael Dean is in the building, filling in admirably for Tori, who is I think we can say it. She's one of her beloved pets, Barnaby, who's been around forever. I think 16 years strong. Is what do they say? Going across the Rainbow Bridge today?
Yeah, very sad, but also what a beautiful life. And Tori took care of Barnaby. Just yeah, that dog was very well taken care of. Had a great life. And I think a lot of times it's sad to lose a dog, but also what a great opportunity to celebrate 16 years of love and companionship and all those other things.
Absolutely, we should all be so lucky. So shout out to Barnaby as he makes his transition. One day we will all make that transition, and hopefully Tori will be there for us as well. Michael Dean, so happy we missed you yesterday. Tell us about your birthday. I saw a lot of old friends. We walked into the place was this place called Ace, like food eatery. Michael Dean, there's a lot of people there. You know a lot of people.
It was Ace Eat Serve. Okay, so to be honest, I was like, I have to throw a party for my friends, or I want to. I asked chat for help. I wanted an activity. This was one of the three places. I reached out to all three. This was the cheapest. But I also thought ping pong, because it's a place to go play ping pong, was like the most accessible over like miniature golf. It's like it's not a very big group activity, and Top Golf is also you can only have 6 people at a bay. Anyways, I think I had like 45 people there.
There was I thought I was in the wrong section when I walked in, just because I don't think I could get, maybe if I told every comic, but I'm not like, those aren't people I know I've done shows with. Y'all colleagues, there was a lot of people in that joint playing ping pong and eating a lot of good Asian fusion food. Because I ate a little bit before I went, and I told Sarah I'm not that hungry. I went and I was that dude that like, it's just you have a plate, but you're still hovering in line because the wings were delicious. Shout out. So yes, Michael Dean, happy birthday. F it, we're calling this your birthday week. How about that?
Yeah, I ended up going out with one of my best buddies. I worked out with him here in Denver for like 8 years now, and we went out to Matsuhisa, which is a sushi restaurant in Denver. It's like one of the Nobu restaurants. Al Jackson. I bought an embarrassingly large amount of food for 2 people. It was a 3-hour dinner. I don't know. Do you ever go for sushi, Al, and you leave hungry?
Yeah, yes. And that's the problem with sushi, Michael Dean, is I never know how much I'm ordering. Like if you go, all right, all the colleagues are going to come. It's probably going to be, it's about 80 people in the chat. So we'll get enough food for 95. But with sushi, I never know. Yeah. They pack so efficiently. I get a bag and I'm like, that's like, you can hold it like this, but it was like $71. And sometimes you're full and sometimes you're still hungry. I don't know how to judge it.
Yeah. I go there for special occasions. So I've been there, for past birthdays and, anniversaries and stuff like that. So I know the menu pretty well, and I don't even open it anymore. I just start I'm like, let's just start with this, and this. And then I'm like, they come back. I'm like, let's grab some of this, and this. But we ordered so much food, and I got home and it was like 10:30, and I was like, tried to turn on the TV and watch some TV, but I was like, I am so full. Like all I could do was roll myself into bed and pass out.
Yeah, it's one of those things. That's the thing with fine dining, colleagues. I'm sure y'all already know you're probably going to leave hungry. I've told the story before about that weird period right before I moved to Denver, but I had split from my wife, and I went on this date with this one Russian chick, and she suggested that it was a restaurant in LA. It was in a hotel, so I was like, oh, okay, whatever, bro. I thought the food looked expensive, and I was like, why is this appetizer $48? So we got like one appetizer and each got an entree, but the appetizers came and they were like fish tacos. But Michael Dean, they were like miniature, like ship in a bottle sized tacos. And they were like $24 each. And I was like, what is this? Just like, I didn't understand like who is like fine dining for. It's not to eat.
No.
Like $400. I had to go to Burger King as soon as I dropped her off. So I learned my lesson.
I did. I splurged and I went for some of the Japanese A5 Wagyu beef, and we each got 2 ounces, which is a ridiculously small amount of beef. Ridiculous. I mean, you think about a normal steak is what, like 6 or 8 ounces. Anyways, and they bring it out like sliced in these itty bitty little slices, and they brought out a Himalayan salt rock that was heated to 600 degrees.
Shut up.
And you had to like cut these itty bitty thin little slices and put it on there, and so you had to cook it yourself. Anyways, that was the most expensive item that I ordered. That alone, 4 ounces, was $160.
Michael Dean, I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that last part. I'm gonna delete that from my memory, and it is done. It's gone. I don't know what you're talking about. Geez. All right. Michael Dean, you know what you should have gotten this weekend, especially for your birthday. Now, I know you don't drink, but you could get a non-alcoholic version of one of these, brother.
Oh,
yes. Buffalo Wild Wings launching their wing flavor espresso proteini. That's just for you, with 10 grams of protein.
Wait, what? There's too many flavors in this thing. Wing flavored espresso. So wait, is that like some wing with an espresso rub?
I don't think it's a rub. I think that there is one Buffalo Wild Wing sauce that they make in a gigantic vat, and they pump it into a truck and they bring it to a franchise near you. I don't think there's some artisan chef back there making a special dry rub for this. It's just, you're probably just drinking the Buffalo Wild Wing sauce with vermouth and gin or vodka, chilled. Yes, let that wash over you.
Hold on, I gotta figure out what's in this.
Okay. And Michael Dean, the best part about do you have some info?
Yeah, okay, you ready? This is what's in this espresso proteini. It's espresso, vodka, muscle milk, protein powder, and buffalo dry rub.
Oh my gosh.
That sounds so disgusting.
It absolutely does. And the best thing about this is, the restaurant wars will never end. And so here's what KFC had to say about it. It says, dude wipes, just gonna let you guys handle this. That is the best clapback. That is hilarious, because can you imagine what you have? Milk, buffalo wing sauce, vodka, and protein,
and espresso.
I mean, that's immediate. Like, you're not making it home. So just apologize to the staff and get ready to be 86th from your local franchise. All right. And really quickly, before we move on, because we got some serious stories today, Michael Dean, just to cheer you up, I don't know if you saw this, but a while back when Minnesota was going down, there was a right-wing nut. He was a January 6ther who was pardoned by Trump, and then immediately got back on his Nazi horse and was riding around. And he's the guy that made the video. This is at the height of the Minneapolis, tensions. And he made the video that they were going to be burning Qurans. And let me just, if you guys, colleagues, if you're not familiar with Jake Lang, old Al Jackson, and Michael Dean, for your birthday, I made a video so you would get to know this man, and I'll tell you why after the video plays.
Standing up against the Somali invasion of Minneapolis, the immediate deportation of Ilhan Omar, and the arrest of the scammer Tim Walz.
Yes. It continues. Oh Okay, so Michael Dean, now we all know Jake Lang, a big open Nazi enthusiast, January 6th who ran his mouth and forgot that a bunch of people have access to the internet. And the idea that a black man had to save him and a Somali nurse had to nurse him back to health, the irony is enough to stop a charging rhino. But that's not enough because Michael Dean, I'm sure you know that a lot of the January Sixers did not take their part and change their lives. A lot of them went on to continue to assault or try and assault children, just like my man Jake Lang, who got stitched up this past week. He was caught. Wait, what is this? We got to take this down first. Take that down.
Here will be
Wait, that's not what we want. Okay, now I'm adding this. And okay, this is Jake Lang. And just really quickly, he messages a girl he thinks is 15 and says, "Are you coming to my next protest in Texas?" First of all, I've used that on women for my comedy shows back in the day. Are you coming to my next riot? And basically he goes on to find out at the end of, and he says something really weird. He says, "When do you turn 16?" And she goes, "In 6 months." And he goes, "Okay, basically hit me up when you're 16. I'm like, it's still illegal. Like they're just such weird people, Michael Dean. I don't understand them. But I do understand this. And especially as we see the Epstein files slowly unfold, that people that tend to lean towards this party are also leaning towards, lowering the age of consent. And so I looked it up. It says, as of March 2026, investigations have identified at least 6 individuals who participated in January 6th that have been involved in crimes involving children. So just never forget when you go, I don't understand why they vote against their own interests. Sometimes these are their interests. And we need to start discussing like who these people are and stop acting like babes in the woods when we go, why would they vote against that? Because they would like the law to be that 15-year-olds are allowed to be approached and courted by 50-year-old men. That's why we differ on a lot of issues. So Michael Dean, speaking of somebody showing some cajones, not even cojones, cajones. Let's get to our first story. This absolutely shocked me. Michael Dean, Joe Kent decided to, Joe Kent, who looks a little bit like Clark Kent's, the guy that married Clark Kent's mom in her later years. He was just like, hey, bro, your mom's still hot. What do you want? We're in our golden years. We're both retired.
He looks really hard there. Like that, the like eye down.
Yeah, that, I mean, he's got the jawline that all these young influencers want. Joe Kent, and we'll talk about his affiliations, but colleagues, just before I read this, like you guys should understand, this isn't some like super left, centrist Republican or just this guy was MAGA. This guy was a Stop the Steal guy, Michael Dean. He was a January 6th truther guy. And so this is and you can put his picture up while I read this, because I think it'll hit harder. But it says, after much reflection, I have decided to resign from my position as director of the National Counterterrorism Center effective today. I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. It is clear we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. It has been an honor serving under POTUS and Tulsi Gabbard and leading the professionals at the National Counter Center, whatever. May God bless America. Michael Dean, he said some stuff, bruh.
Yeah. It was interesting. The whole second half of his like resignation letter was all about how much, he was aligned with Trump and what he had done and what a great job Trump had done. But, I think this is the biggest piece of evidence yet, like both his actions and his letter, of the divide that this war is causing in MAGA world. Like you've got these hardline people who really believed Trump when he said no more foreign wars. We don't want to get, our young men and women killed in the Middle East anymore. So many, even Pete Hegseth, he himself, felt like he was told lies about Iraq. We all were.
Right.
And now here we are once again. And in his letter, he says that Trump believes the lies that he says Israel is telling about Iran being a imminent threat to the United States.
Yeah, well said. Totally agree with that. And, colleagues, Michael Dean, you and I, you just celebrated a birthday. What we have to remember is that we all have our recollection of mission accomplished 9/11, but we were already adults at that point. That guy is Gen Z. And that guy those are the people that, had friends, classmates, that died in these wars between, what was it, 9 years between Iraq and Afghanistan, about 20 years, that died after we said mission accomplished. So when you say no more forever wars, there's one thing to say that as you're homebound. There's another thing when you are directly affected. These are people, this is your generation, people that you knew, not even just your sons and daughters. There's a different kind of connection there. There's a different kind of anger and distrust of your government. And what this guy who had 11 deployments to Iraq, this guy he was a Gold Star husband, meaning that his wife was killed over there. His wife was killed.
Yeah.
So right. This means something to him rather than Bone Spurs president that we have and Lindsey Graham running around saying bomb them. Joe Kent's seen what happens when you bomb them. Joe Kent's seen what happens when you get bombed. He's seen people that he knew that he had lunch with that are no longer in one piece. And that may be graphic, but that's just what it is. I have friends that are veterans of the Middle East, and they've all told me, to a man, to a woman, that they have had struggles every single day since. And we look at our exploding homeless problem, our exploding opioid problem, and we never put these two things together, Michael Dean. What do people use opium for? Opioids, heroin, to make the pain go away, to leave your body. Where would that come from? I don't know. Years of unprocessed PTSD, homelessness comes from PTSD, being a soldier, not being able to trust anybody, not being able to move, not understanding the world as it works anymore. So him standing up is a big deal. And he said a couple things in the first half of his statement, Michael Dean. Not only he said that he can't in good conscience support the war, he said that there was no imminent threat. Yep. That is direct contradiction to the narrative coming out of this White House. That's in writing, and that's basically a government document. A tweet is considered like a form of government communication, so it could be
letter.
Yeah. So this is absolutely huge, and I hope we appreciate what he did, because imagine where we'd be if Colin Powell had done this.
Oh, it's interesting. So the president responded, said, "I read his statement. I always thought he was a nice guy, but I always thought he was weak on security, very weak on security. He's a counterterrorism top official. So weird if he's weak on security that you'd have him in that position." But he said, when I read this statement, I realized that it's a good thing he's out, because he said Iran was not a threat. Iran was a threat. Every country realized what a threat Iran was. I think the key thing here is Iran was not a threat to the United States.
Yeah,
that's where the rub is in this.
Yeah, and you could tell that they weren't a threat, because when something is a threat, you can identify it. If somebody says, "Al, why did you hit that guy at a bar with a chair?" Was he an imminent threat? Yes, he brandished a knife. That is an imminent threat. That caused me to take this action. And everybody would say, well, okay, that makes sense. You can't say, I hit this guy with a chair because I thought he was about to hit Michael Dean. That's basically what we're saying. Our line now is Iran was Israel was going to strike Iran, and because of that, they would then strike us. So we were preemptive and we struck them first. That kind of jumbled narrative is the stuff you have to make up on the fly because you're full of S. When there's an imminent threat, you wouldn't even have to answer that. People would be able to tell. We're all adults out here. Nobody was thinking about Iran. Iran had come to the negotiating table twice. The first time they came to the negotiating table, we bombed them the next day. The second time they came to the negotiating table, said that they were willing to get rid of all their enriched uranium. They wanted some to power, because you can use uranium to power your city.
For medical
reasons. For medical reasons. We knew at that point we were probably still going to go to war. So we just walked away from those discussions. And then we bombed them again, killing their leader, his wife, and the now leader's father, his mother-in-law, and one of his kids. And we now have taken one person that was an 86-year-old and a little bit maybe more malleable to negotiating with the United States, and we've made a mortal enemy. Let me ask you this, Michael Dean. How would you feel towards anybody that took out both of your parents and a sibling?
Yeah. That's one of those types of things that vengeance movies get built around.
That's what Gladiator was about.
Right. Like you go and kill everybody involved in the murder of those people.
Yeah.
Al, I just want to say this because I brought this up before in the chat on previous episodes, but now that I'm filling in for Tori, I think one of the things that we're not being told or is not being discussed enough. So we bombed with Israel this summer, Iran's nuclear facilities, right? We decimated them. All the things that Trump said about how we had completely destroyed their uranium enrichment program. But the truth of the matter is, despite all of the damage that we did cause, we ended up just burying the highly enriched uranium. And to give you an idea, Iran has about 970 pounds of uranium enriched to 60% purity. It does not take long to get that above the 80% threshold or 90% threshold for a nuclear weapon. Now, turns out we've watched since that bombing them go, and all of these mounds of earth being taken away from the tunnels where we did the bombing and going to get access to these. It's in a gas form, these canisters of highly enriched uranium, which were not destroyed. Here's the thing. Whoever goes and gets that holds a lot of power, because that can be made into a dirty bomb, that can be enriched further and made into an actual bomb. And if America really wants to rid the world of the threat, this 970, that's not a lot of pounds of enriched uranium. A lot.
Yeah.
We have to go in and get it, which means we have to have troops on the ground going, digging, and getting in those tunnels and getting those canisters. That ultimately is what this war is going to take if you want to remove that.
Yeah. And that would be a slaughterhouse. They would be sitting ducks.
Yes.
I mean, Michael Dean, I don't think that we understand that with what we've just done, we have guaranteed that Iran will make sure that is nuclearly capable at this point on. And who can effing blame them? You don't see a lot of people taking shots at North Korea, do you? Because they have a nuclear weapon. When people say we want a nuclear weapon, it's so this doesn't happen. Pakistan has one, India has one, Israel has one, North Korea has one. There's a reason that everybody feels like they could just lob some missiles on over to Iran whenever they want, because Iran's got they can defend themselves, but they don't have a nuclear weapon. And now, if you think the people that are currently living in Tehran, that we're probably more progressive, as most people are in major cities, that maybe we're down with getting rid of this kind of totalitarian regime, this very religious hierarchy, and maybe moving to something more democratic, more modern. How do you think they feel about you now? after 160 dead girls from ages 8 to 10 are still being pulled out of rubble? How do you think they want to? Do you think they want to hear about your democratic ideals now? We have radicalized thousands of people. Iran is a nation of 93 million people. And then, quite frankly, Michael Dean, not to be insulting to myself, to you, or any of the colleagues, we ain't them, bruh. This is a country that since the late 70s has grown up under sanctions, grown up, they've lived a life going with embargoes, going without, having to be creative. They can't import stuff. A lot of countries are not allowed to trade with them. And that makes you tough. And that makes you resilient. Ain't no frozen yogurt around there, bruh. It's no games. And then when you start, I guarantee you, they can wait us out. We get pissed off because our gas tank is a little bit more expensive heading out to spring break. We got longer lines because TSA ain't getting paid. We're not wired for that. You ever look at those clips and they'll be like, this is a totally different country, but like those UFC fighters in like Dagestan are like wrestling with bears when they're like 9, and I'm like, that ain't us. Like we ain't those. There's a reason they're all champions. You're a little tougher over there.
You know, it's all they have to do is keep that strait closed down or keep a threat of action against ships going through it, and they end up totally roiling. It's not just oil markets. That's a major agricultural corridor, because guess what? All of those Middle East countries export millions and millions and millions of pounds of fertilizer. And that fertilizer is what is used to grow food that feeds the world. So we're two of the most essential things, food and gas, getting shut down through there. They just keep that shut down. They win. We can just, they can take all the hits. And as long as that stays shut down, they're still winning, because the rest of the world is dependent on that.
Yeah. And that look, and I know people are saying, well, we'll just bomb Iran's oil reserves, and China and Russia are like, you'll do what now? We have to remember, you got to decide who you are, because the Republicans kind of went into this last election being of almost two minds. We're going to be isolationists, we're going to cut off USAID, and I don't know how many millions of young kids that they've calculated have died because they have not gotten that aid. You guys let a South African ketamine addict come over here, and after he got done stealing our Social Security information, then he went and starved a bunch of people. But I digress. So you're like, well, we're going to be isolationists. So sorry about your sick, skinny kids, but we're retracting from the world. No more bases all over the place. USA first, and everybody else figure it out. And then we go, well, we're kind of bored. Let's starve Cuba. Let's piss off Canada. Let's have boots on the ground in effing Ecuador. And then on top of that, let's go pick a fight with a nation that appears to be kicking the shit out of us right now.
Well,
I mean, we're clearly not winning, Michael Dean, because, and let's move to the next story about, Trump now saying he doesn't need help from our allies with the Strait of Hormuz, because yesterday and towards the end of last week, he was saying, hey, we all use this. So, I feel like everybody should be over here helping. And so after they all said no, he was like, I don't need y'all. So the flip-flopping is something they accuse Democrats of. This is a flip-flop within 24 hours. That's a super flop.
Let me ask you out. Say you were the leader of the Chancellor of Germany, or the President of France, or the Prime Minister in England. Are you going to send your Navy to go defend the Strait of Hormuz in the middle of this war right now?
Absolutely not.
Right. Why wouldn't you? Because
right now, we don't have any beef with Iran, and Iran is doing the kind of smart thing where they're like, don't start nothing, won't be nothing. So if you guys don't shoot at us, feel free to use the strait. But if you're down with the people that are shooting at us, if you're down with the people that just dropped the bomb on one of our elementary schools, you're going to have to figure out how to go without food and gas this summer, homie. And that's why they're like, why would we piss off a country that's already pissed off and not really gain any and possibly lose our access to the Strait when we can do nothing, not anger Iran, and possibly have some footing to negotiate? Because guess what, colleagues? Those countries Michael Dean mentioned, Denmark, France, the UK, all of those countries that we kind of subtly but not so subtly asked for help, they're negotiating with Iran, not us. And it's real simple. You don't have to know anything about geopolitics. You don't have to ever have left your house. Just all you have to know is when you're going to negotiate, do you negotiate with the country that's winning or the country that's losing? There's your answer about how things are going over there.
You know, I'm my whole thing is like, we're already in a war, or there's already this war going on in Ukraine, and now there's this war in the Middle East, and you know, it's really pitting both of these, let's get real, are pitting the Western nations against, you know, Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea. And I just wonder, when does this, at what point should we start worrying about this becoming World War III? You know, like,
yeah,
I know that sounds absolutely bonkers.
I don't think so.
Russia's providing Iran with intelligence about targeting American troops. You know, the only thing that I think is maybe working in our favor is Iran continues to hit targets in places like Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia has close ties to Putin and to China. So, like, I don't see them necessarily going and defending, you know, despite the fact that China and Russia are, you know, in cahoots with Iran. It's just, but, you know, you never know in these type of situations.
Well, you know, think about I always think about things from our perspective, from our, like, if we look at the hemisphere, like, that's the area that you're talking about in the world, that's China's domain. That's Russia's domain. You don't see them over here trying to influence a lot of stuff going on, because the U.S. would immediately have its backup, like, hey, this is our territory. When you start messing with oil production that a country like China needs, that a country like you know, all the countries in that region use, now you're in their neighborhood, and now you're in their living room kicking shit around, and people don't like that much. Now, we all know that the major superpowers can't go heads up, you know, so there have to be a bunch of proxy wars. So Russia will be funding and sharing intelligence with the Iranians, and fairly openly doing so, if you and I know about it. The same with China, because they're like, we can't lock horns, the US and China, like that's where you could start talking about World War III. But we will use all these kind of other countries that all of a sudden have these incredible arms. If you want to have an example of it, just look at US history. Check that out. Check out who the Mujahideen were and who they turned into, the Taliban. How'd that happen? Who trained them? I don't know. Everything, yes. When we wanted to take over, when we wanted to start to put our footprint over in Iraq, what we did was, there was a rival faction called the Mujahideen. They were against the sitting government. We then armed them, allowed them to take over Iraq, and once they took over, they were like, we kind of don't want to listen to the United States anymore. And so, like, this started right after the Russians left Afghanistan in the 80s, after they had just gotten their ass kicked. And the Russians told the United States, and there's a ton of video of this, saying, don't do it, bro. We just tried. They totally demoralized in Afghanistan the Russian army, to the point where they withdrew, because half their soldiers were, again, strung out on opium, because they're like, what the F are we doing over here? We're getting shot at. And Russia withdrew, and we were like, we're the United States, we'll handle this. And You can open up a history book to see how that worked out. We have really, Michael Dean, just been a country that has failed to learn lessons over and over and over again. We even hear the same lines, imminent threat. They're a danger to the United States. Last time it was weapons of mass destruction. This time it's a weapon. They don't say weapon of mass destruction, but nuclear weapon, uranium. And it's the same. It's almost the same players. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like we as a nation are more savvy because people called BS immediately. And you could tell by how unpopular this war was from the jump.
Well, we all got fooled.
Yeah.
Like we got fooled once and we watched as we lost how many thousands of soldiers or,
I just heard that stat and I don't want to throw. I want to say I thought I heard 14,000, but please, that might be way wrong. But yeah, and while you're looking that up, Michael Dean, colleagues, I'll tell you why we got fooled. It's because Colin Powell, George Bush, Dick Cheney, Don Rumsfeld, they at least went through the dog and pony show. They got a coalition of the willing by threatening those nations that they better help us. They went to the Senate. They went to the Congress. They lied, but they went there. We just skipped all that. They skipped all that. And now we're getting their ass kicked. And they're like now trying to retroactively fit a coalition of the willing together. And not a lot of people willing, Michael Dean. What'd you find out?
So yeah, over 7,000 U.S. service members died in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan combined.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I wonder, it was 2,400 plus died in Afghanistan and over 4,400 in Iraq. Gosh.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And how many came back forever damaged? Go ahead.
And then over 8,000 U.S. contractors also lost their lives.
Wow, that's a lot. Well, it was interesting. I told you I was listening to this deep dive podcast about Afghanistan in particular. And there was a reporter that was in line getting ready to get on the flight to go over there. And she said that there was this big kind of jacked burly guy in front of her. And she was like, "Oh, are you being deployed?" And he was like, "No, I'm a contractor." And he was like, "All these people in line are contractors." I think that that's what we will never really be able to get a hold of is all these contracts that were handed out. Oh, Michael Dean Incorporated is going to go build 19 elementary schools over, in Kandahar. Did they ever get built? I don't know. Who's going to check Michael Dean? I don't know. And so we just threw money at a problem and it did not help. Billions of dollars are unaccounted for. And you know who made out like bandits? BlackRock, Dick Cheney's company, all the, these companies we gave all these government no bid contracts to. And we don't even know if they did the work, but from the appearance of the photos, they did not. So, all right, Michael Dean, let's move on because I did want to talk about Taylor Frankie. She's the woman from she's the new Bachelor, but the new Bachelorette. And the reason I know this is obviously Sarah watches The Bachelorette. I had never seen it. I always knew the Bachelorette controversies because I remember when Rachel Lindsay, that's Taylor Frankie. When Rachel Lindsay, a black woman, was the Bachelorette, remember there was all that fallout. All the fans were like, no. And they were like, they didn't say she's black. I was like, she's a track star. She's gorgeous. And she's a lawyer. This woman here, no shade. She's been divorced twice, I think. And she has 2 kids by 2 different dads. Again, no shade at all. I'm just saying that it's interesting that the standards are different for different people. I digress. This is why this is interesting, colleagues. Whether you've ever seen these people, and I doubt that you have, you know what we always talk about. We're marketing nerds on this show. Who cares about these nothings? What we're interested in is what these sweet Jesus on a Sunday morning. You got to warn me first, Michael Dean. Jesus. Holy, it's the wow. No shit. We don't look shame on this. I just was not. All right. I'm going to do like this. That wow. No shit. Look, we all got different types. Whew. Okay. That's the new Bachelorette. And for all the reasons that I talked about, I was asking Sar because I do know that these shows, especially their old business model, Michael Dean, was okay. The Bachelor is gonna be a lawyer who's like a former Marine. He's got an 8-pack, and he helps kids in Malaysia, like these perfect people. And I wonder, as that kind of viewing demographic has gone away, these Mormon wives are only famous because they break all the rules. These women are swinging, sulking, doing everything, and talking about it. No one wanted to see any show that actually involved Mormons. They wanted to see a show that involved Mormons breaking the rules. So they go, ABC is like, well, why can I don't know what channel that comes on. We watch on Hulu. But they're like, well, what is it? Bravo?
No, I don't think it's Bravo.
No.
Bravo NBC, right? So
maybe it is
I
yeah. But whatever channel, that Mormon wife show is crazy popular, y'all. Like, I wouldn't have never known this, but two of the girls were on Dancing with the Stars. This one got I almost said Friends from Work. Got
Hulu.
Oh, Hulu's okay, yeah. So what a boomer I am. So I think the Bachelorette was like, look, Michael Dean, we could go get another gorgeous blonde who does Doctors Without Borders and just wants to see the world smile, and we'll all start snoring. Our ratings are dropping. What do we need to go do? We need to go get a Mormon that's been in the streets, kicking it. The problem when you go get somebody in these streets, Michael Dean, is you got some street shit following you. And this girl definitely does. She has been cast on one of their flagship shows. I feel safe in saying that, The Bachelorette. And Michael Dean, the last I saw, because I actually showed Sar a screenshot of this on TMZ, that she strangled, allegedly strangled her boyfriend, the guy you saw in that photo, with a necklace, which I'm like, how do you do that? What is this, Assassin's Creed? That's like that's like how they used to kill mobsters in the 30s. So yeah, Michael Dean, in a world where everybody wants to be treated equally, wants to be judged on the merits of their past actions, would anybody continue to be the Bachelorette for their flagship show when they got a background similar to Ike Turner?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how this gets past lawyers and or the people who actually do the vetting, except I know exactly how it got past them. They only cared about the ratings, like you were saying.
Well, how would you know that, Mr. Executive Producer of television for your entire adult life? Can you speak to this? Have you ever had like an ethical quandary where you're just like, and you don't have to say where, no names, but just like how you felt about a certain casting? Yeah.
So I'll just say it because I don't care.
Please.
But we did, when I was working at Dr. Phil, I was producing all of the shows with Octomom. Now, if you recall who that is, her name is Nadia Solomon. She ended up birthing live 8 babies that she was pregnant with at the same time. There's this picture of her pregnant, which is she looks like an alien.
I saw that. I remember that picture.
Yeah, it I can close my eyes and it's still right there. But we had her on the show. I think I produced 12 shows with her. And I'm not a doctor, Al, but that woman was not well.
Yeah.
Mentally, she was not well. And I know that she walked away from doing all those shows with us with, some things to call for it. But I felt a certain way about the fact that I felt like we were exploiting her and her mental health issues and her decisions for tabloid reasons, and those were the highest rated Dr. Phil shows that season by far. Yeah, I felt horrible about it.
Yeah. I mean, because you have a soul, but you know what's interesting, and I will not lose track because what you said is like something I really want to talk about. But I was talking to a friend of mine and I was asking her why a comedian friend of ours wasn't bigger than she was. And he goes, "Do you know why, Al? Because she has a soul." And when you're in the business of television, except for a situation like DBL where they really just let us kind of say how we felt, a lot of things were exploitative because that's what your audience wanted. When you have a situation where, especially back in the day, you had to have something up there for people to point at and say, I'm better than that. So whether it's Jerry Springer and I'm sleeping with my brother and my husband and his wife, or I'm a 14-year-old and I'm addicted to drugs and I have sex and I'm not going to listen to my mom. Whatever, the person didn't matter. It's about the ratings. But the thing is, Michael Dean has a soul. So to you, sir, the person did matter. And that's where you messed up. You can't be in this business with a soul. It's hard to move around this world when you have actual feelings and you're a thoughtful, autonomous human being like you are. And that's why I really applaud you not only making it as long as you, oh my goodness in heaven. Yeah, that is, I mean, you know, and when we talk about a world that we now know so much more about postpartum, that we now know so much about just mental health. When I was watching the coming back to the Taylor Frankie woman, when I was watching the show with SAR Sunday, Sunday when we got back from Steamboat, so Monday, I was saying to her, bro, I've been in these streets. I know people, and I know when people are not doing well, and she was mentally unstable, and it's clear. But quite frankly, Michael Dean, people that are mentally unstable make great television. And that is what is always going to be the balance when we look at, remember when that The Biggest Loser documentary came out about 6 months ago, a year ago, and everybody was like, oh my God, these trainers were pushing people and exploiting people. And it's like, yeah. And who watched it? You did. The whole Tyra Banks, she was mean to them. She called some of them fat. She called some of them too skinny, body shaming, being mean to the black girl. All those things are true. And guess who watched it? You did.
Yeah, you know, like the truth of the matter is we're all to blame in all of that. We wanted, like, let's be real. None of us would have watched if she wasn't mean, if she didn't do those things. Like, Simon Cowell was an asshole.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why we tuned in. It was awesome to watch. And, it was entertaining to watch.
Whatever euphemism you want to put on it, you're exactly right. And it's hard because as people, we always want to, me, you, all the colleagues, we always want to feel like we were always on the right side of history. And for the most part, we were. But at a certain time, you don't know what you don't know. And, you know, I remember, this is random, but it's like at the, you know, back in the day when, like, you know, I'd walk in somebody's house and everybody's watching Cops. I don't think that they knew that they were watching people in poor communities being exploited, people that were on drugs and unable to accurately say whether they wanted their face and their likeness shown on their worst day. But they're poor, Michael Dean, and they couldn't do shit. So you know what we did? We made fun of them. We watched, oh, look at this poor guy living in a trailer in rural Florida getting tackled by cops. Look at this crackhead lady getting shoved into the back of a car. She didn't have any food for her kids. It's really gross stuff. And if no one looks, it goes away. But everybody looks, and we all had to wrestle with the reasons as to why we did. And I'll say this before we move on because you shared a really personal story, and I don't have anything close to that. But I will say this: I knew and am still very proud of and close to a young woman that was on one of those Maury baby daddy shows.
Right.
She was super young. I think she was probably 17 at the time. And I don't want to say too much because, you know, she has her life and she's moved on. But she was working in an adult late night environment, not a strip club, but you know, you're young, you're in this new environment. And she, you know, the older guys saw this cute new girl, they passed her around, and she ended up on Maury. And the fallout from that, when the people in the community saw that she was on there, especially back then, because it's probably going back 15, 20 years, was devastating. But I'm proud to report that, like, at least in that case, this person got back up and became an incredibly wonderful mother and redeeming professional in this world. But I saw firsthand in real time the fallout when these people leave that set, check out of the Times Square hotel, and have to go back to their home where they've just been on TV being made fun of. And then when the internet came, being remixed into memes. You are not the daddy. You are not the daddy. Like, that's somebody's life, yo. And it's easy because there's a screen in between us. But when you know, like Michael Dean does, like I do, the people on the other side of that screen, and you'd be like, yo, she's good people, man. You know, it's just like, I hope that we have evolved. And I think that for as horrible as this war in Iran has been, MD, I am proud of the way that the American people have been like, F this from the door. From the door. This country almost as a, as one mass movement. And I don't know if it was kind of galvanized by what we saw in Minneapolis, but we are slowly seeing, bro, with the Epstein files. I know some people think, oh, I'm white or I'm a Republican. It's us versus them. And I hope that this continues. I hope that we sweep the midterms and we get some politicians in there. When you hear about all this money being spent, what did Pete Hegseth spend? 93 million on crab legs?
Seriously?
Did you see, you sent that story? Please look it up and I'll talk about it so you get the exact. It won't be hard. Pete Hegseth spends, he spent like 93 million on the budget on like crab legs and cars. You got Kash Patel riding around in private jets. We gave people, colleagues, we all forgot that. Didn't we give like Argentina like $40 billion and never mentioned it again? This war is costing what, $1 billion a day? Imagine if that was going into your community. Imagine what we could do.
Oh my God.
Michael Dean, was I close?
Yeah. This is the AI overview. This is Gemini, Google. According to the Watchdog report, the Pentagon under Hegseth spent approximately 6.9 million to 7.4 million on lobster tails during specific months in 2025. It was part of a larger end-of-year fiscal $93 billion spending spree on various luxury items, including 15 million on ribeye steaks. $93.4 billion.
I said million, so I was not close.
No.
Look, I don't know where I stand on welcoming the people that voted this administration back in. I know that there are people leaving MAGA and all this, and maybe I've already said this. At some point, dog, we too old. Maybe I'm too old to forgive. As I near the half century mark, I don't want to hear this shit no more. Y'all knew this was gonna happen. We're still building and throwing brown folks in concentration camps. We're now in a war. ICE is still doing shitty stuff. It's just like not on the news as much. I don't know if a mea culpa helps at this much. If you want to vote blue, go ahead, but I don't even want to hear it. Just go do it and go back home and stop interacting with society. You guys are grown, and you fell for this for 3 straight times. This sexual assaulter who's all up in the, why do we call it the Epstein files? Trump's in it more than he is.
You know, it's funny. I know I wasn't here yesterday for the conversation about the Oscars, but his opening monologue, do you remember what joke got the most reaction from the audience? The largest reaction?
At least at least we prosecute our pedophiles. Yeah.
By far.
Yeah.
By far. Yeah.
Yeah, because, and it's not something we talk about every day, but Michael Dean, we all feel it. We all walk around. We all know that we can't necessarily by ourselves do anything about it.
Right.
But it's really going to start to hit when these trials in other countries are going on, and we are still trying to depose the older black bailiff guard at Jeffrey Epstein's facility that his life was taken at. Like, that's going to be the way we account for justice, is we're going to throw Ghislaine and probably this black woman in jail. And you know, it's just like, it's not enough, and you feel dirty because of it. You feel like you're interacting with something dirty.
You know, I saw the headline, the House panel has subpoenaed Pam excuse me, Pam Bondi on the Epstein files. Like, even if she gets thrown in jail because they didn't disclose properly or disclose enough for all these things, which, fine, I'm all for it. Great, throw her in jail, you know, if that is what they find. But once again, who's not being prosecuted?
Yeah.
Any of the names on the list?
Nobody. They won't even release their names. They're redacting their names when they're like either the sender or the recipient of an email. I mean, they're redacting everything, and they've been painstaking in making sure all those names are redacted, and they were equally as painstaking to make sure that the victims' names were not. And there has to be a pound of flesh, a price that is paid for this. And I think until we do, the way that we release our tension valve is with jokes, like that fantastic joke about at least we prosecute our pedophiles. But, you know, that's not going to be enough. It's that because, like I said, we cannot move forward if nobody is prosecuted, because you make rules one way or the other. I can tell, if I'm teaching middle school still, I can tell my students, no chewing gum in class. And the students over the next 2 weeks observe 2 or 3 students come up to my desk openly chewing gum, and I say nothing. Then guess what, Michael Dane? You can chew gum in my class. Who cares what I said? It's what did I do? And right now, bro, we've done nothing. I cannot believe, like we were talking about yesterday, when you took the day off, like, at least with Kennedy being shot, we had Jack Ruby take a fall. We had, you know, who was the Passy John? Who's the guy that they said killed Kennedy? I almost said John Wayne Gacy. Then I almost said John Wilkes Booth. I said it yesterday. Roll off my Lee Harvey. It's too many 3-named killers. You know, you at least had a patsy. You just can't say the president's been shot and you know, we're going after the owner of the books depository because those windows should be nailed shut. That's not how justice works. And I think that this administration has over and over again, they're going by like how the American people were easily manipulated and docile in 2002. And for as much as we are gross and disgusting, we've grown up and we know a few things about a few things now. And now we see that today, bro, bringing everything full circle with Joe Kent, the Trumpiest of Trumper, MAGA, blood red till I die, was like, I can't do this, bro.
You know, you know, I think this calls for.
What's that? Oh, that's right. Colleagues, tonight, I know the world's problems are weighing heavy on your shoulders. And Newton's first law of thermodynamics is energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transferred. I want you to take the energy of your anger, pour yourself one of these, and transfer it to your bathroom, and make your bathroom feel all the pain that this administration is putting, and just stand up and say, take that. Oh God. Michael Dean, I effing love you so much. Colleagues, you guys are super effing dope. We would be nowhere if it wasn't for y'all. Remember to tell a friend to tell a friend. That way this horrible government can't suppress our free speech about buffalo wings margaritas. How about that? So with that said, Michael Dean with the double thumbs up. And I don't know what that is, but I'll Michael, are you trying to make a heart? Michael Dean, what else could that be? What else could that be? I know, but Jesus. I thought that was our new send-off. I was like, all right, we going 2 live crew in this bitch. All right. On behalf of Michael Dean, I've been Al Jackson. Colleagues, we are out. We will be back. I'll be back tomorrow. Tori will be back Thursday. Love y'all.